On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the Wonton Don himself joined me for a very long conversation. Donnie is he's kind of the travel guru. I think the title he gave himself when I asked him was foreign correspondent here at Barstool. He is a content machine is what he is. This man travels the world, pumps out videos that are incredible. It's my favorite stuff that Barstool does. And Donnie absolutely rules. He's a fun hang and a great follow and everything else. But the reason I wanted to have Donnie on is because we have been toying with the idea, he and I, of figuring out a place in the world where we can go to document the basketball scene. And we've thrown out like a million different countries. We basically have done the thing where you just spin the globe and point your finger and say, yeah, put that one on the list. So I wanted him to come on the show and just like talk it out a little bit. I think we landed on a general idea, nothing concrete yet, but I think we landed on where we might end up. But yeah, he's well traveled. He's gone to basketball in more countries than I have, to be honest with you. So there's that. We talked about that a little bit and his process of making videos, and it was just a fun conversation, man. Donnie absolutely rules. Most down to earth guy here. I say this affectionately. You would never know that he's from Massachusetts the way he carries himself. He's the idea that he's a masshole is kind of shocking once you get to know Donnie, because you're like, that can't be right, because all these other people that work here, you're very different from all of them. And I don't know, it was a fun conversation, and we touched on a little bit of everything, and he told some fun stories of his time traveling and shooting videos and all the places he's been. And yeah, like I said, I think we did land on an idea that I hope comes to fruition. I hope we make it happen. So that's the bulk of the show today, talking to the Wonton Don. All right, joining me now is the Wonton Don. What would you say your title is here? The travel expert, the
foreign correspondent.
Foreign correspondent.
Yeah.
YouTube sensation. I assume everybody watching, listening knows of Donnie. And the off chance you don't, you're the Wonton Don on YouTube, right?
Yes.
That would be how they could find you on YouTube. You make the best content at Barstool, bar none. I don't say that to everybody. You're the only person I've said that to that's come on the show, because you're the only person I mean it. You're incredible, but you also like seem to live in your own little island of content. It's so fascinating how it works. But like, dude, I can't get enough of just like anytime you're putting out videos, they're incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the first like 4 years at the company, I was living in Shanghai, China. So I was literally on my own little island, my own little continent in Asia. So I started off as kind of their just like China correspondent. And I've always loved traveling, filming travel vlogs and things like that. So I think I have a leg up when it comes to making content, because sometimes it's easier to make really good content when you're just like in a foreign country than if you're just in an office in New York.
Yeah, and you do most of the stuff yourself, don't you? Don't you like edit it? And every time I walk by, you're like chopping up your videos and...
Yeah, when I first got hired by Barstool, I had a lot of vids, but those vids my friend had done the editing for.
Yeah.
But we were making zero money off of those vids, and eventually my friend was like, I don't have as much time to commit to this because I'm not making any money. And then when I got the job from Barstool, I was just so happy to have the job. I wasn't going to turn around and be like, oh, and could you also like hire a full-time video editor guy for me? So I just started kind of teaching it myself. My first like year of vids was just me holding a GoPro, and just going around spots, doing the basic editing. And so now I probably do like the vast majority of all the video editing.
Which I would get, like, it probably sucks to do that much work, but I also would guess that there's almost a positive thing about that, which is that you can kind of control, like, if you have a specific vision of like how you want to chop the stuff up and kind of present it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you get like final say on everything, basically.
Yes. And so like now, even if I'll have someone who can help me go through all the footage, because that's the worst part. If you like film for 4 days, you just have to spend another like 3 days going through all the footage and picking out the parts that work. That can be the busy, annoying part of the job. But like, yeah, I love choosing the music now, writing the VOs for it, and kind of just like, putting my personal touches on it.
So eventually, hopefully today, you and I can talk through like where a fun basketball trip might be. But before we do that, I just want to like get background on like what is your process like? Like, how does your process work when it comes time to? Is it? Do you seek out trips? Do you like look at a map and say like I should do something in New Zealand, say, or is it just kind of like you just go about your life, and then somebody slips something in your ear where they're like, hey, I don't know if you knew about this, but you should check this out, and then you take them up on that. Like, how does that process work of like choosing where to go and what to highlight?
Yeah, each trip's completely different. A lot of people come up to me and they're like, so does Barstool just like send you places? And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's not like Dave and Erica are calling me in to their office and like, you have to go to Zimbabwe next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in China at first, it was like, okay, what's like the weirdest thing I can film around Shanghai on the cheap? And then when I got more leeway to kind of go wherever I want, it's usually a tip off from someone or like an article I'll read online. And I was like, sounds like it would make an awesome video. I'm trying to think, like, each trip's completely different. Like, the only reason I went to Everest Base Camp is because I was at the World Cup. And someone there was
that's right. Yeah.
Someone at the World Cup was like, I'm climbing Everest in April. I can ask them if you can tag along at least to base camp. And I'm like, that sounds like a sweet series. I'll do that. Another time, I've always wanted to go to, I was going to do a trip in Europe. And I was like, if I just go to like France and Germany and stuff, that's a little too like mainstream. That's already been done too many times. And I had a friend reach out being like, the Balkans are severely underrated. Like, there's so many cool things you can do there. And so I'm like, like, I know nothing about the Balkans. Like, I remember as a kid hearing about a bunch of wars in the Balkans, but now you're telling me it's like a beautiful, fun part of the world. That would be a cool series to do.
I think that's what stands out to me so much, like watching your videos, is you seem to have the attitude of, I want to go to the places that I know the least about. Whereas I think most people, even the people that are well traveled, it feels like the train of thought would be, I want to go to the places I know the most about, because those are the things I've seen online. That's the stuff that my friends have told me all about. So like people end up going to the, Paris a lot or whatever, London and all that. And it seems, maybe not painting with that broad of a stroke, but it seems with you, the idea that, someone's like, you should just come to Mount Everest Base Camp. You're like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. You should go, you should check out is the Balkans. You're like, I don't know anything about it, but sounds awesome. Let's do it.
Yes. I was also at first just worried about Dave accusing me of going on boondoggle trips. So if he just like saw me at the Eiffel Tower or just chilling in the Caribbean, he'd be like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Right.
But if he sees me in these parts of the world that he would never want to go to himself, he's like, all right, this is cool content.
So the other thing that stands out watching you is like how comfortable you are in every environment you're in. Is that something that you would say is true to what you're feeling on the inside, or do you just have a good way of presenting yourself as like, you can go to Qatar for the World Cup and like, I'm not to say that I would be freaking out, but like there are some people that would just, be like, this is weird, whatever. You're just kind of like, yeah, fuck it. Let's go jump in this cab. Let's get on our way. Is that how you are feeling on the inside, or is there some element of you of like, boy, I hope this, I am going to jump off this cliff, but I have no idea what's really waiting down there, and I really hope this works out for me?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I feel like maybe my comfort zone is discomfort.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be more uncomfortable just like working in the New York office than if I'm like in a village in Africa.
Yeah.
I don't know how that came to be. I went abroad in college to Africa, like a really random place, Botswana. And I think I chose that because I was like, I might have a chance to go to like Europe or Australia down the line, but when else am I going to have a chance to go to Africa? And maybe I was a little nervous for that. But then once I got there, we did this homestay with these families, and like my friend's homestay family was just a 22-year-old pothead. And so I would just like go over to his like little hut and we would smoke weed and play cards. And that was kind of when I realized like, okay, like no matter where you go in the world, people are pretty similar,
Yeah.
People are people.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not looking for trouble, then it usually won't find you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all pretty much the same, to have the same motivations. It's just the way we sometimes express ourselves is a little different. But
Yes.
yeah. So you said like you were into traveling before you got into this. Is this something that like, was this like a vision for a career? Was this like, how'd you end up in Shanghai in the first place?
That was just graduating college and really having no idea what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who had gone abroad to Shanghai, loved it so much that he just decided to stay out there. And he was like, dude, you can easily get a teaching job out here for a year and then just use all your vacation days to travel Asia, go down to Thailand or the Philippines. And so I was planning on just doing that for 10 months and then coming back to the U.S., finding a more real job, 9 to 5. But made some really good friends that first year, had a good time, decided to stay. And that friend I was with, he also kind of knew how to film and edit a bit. So I was like, while I'm out here, we should film some vids. This is such a hilarious place to film. Started pumping out the content. Barstool shared like the first 2 out of the 3 vids I made. So that got me pumped up and being like, oh, maybe I could turn these travel vids into something. And then they didn't share the next like 2 years of vids I did, but I did enjoy doing it. And I was like tutoring English out there and found that as long as I tutored 10 hours a week, I could pay the bills.
Wow.
And that could cover like food. And then in my free time, I was just making content because I enjoyed it and obviously hoped it would turn into something. But for a while there, I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work out.
Did it pop off? Like, yeah, like when was like the moment where you're like, oh, I have something here with the channel and
I mean, I
all
thought like they shared the first 2 vids. Those one was like teaching kindergarten in China, and I was teaching them Yankees suck, like yeah, we hate LeBron James, and like doing all these chants. And then I filmed the Shanghai Sharks vid, and that was shared by Barstool. But then the next like 2 years of vids didn't really take off until I did a Federer prank out in China where I dressed up like Roger Federer and somehow convinced just hundreds and hundreds of
You do look enough like Roger Federer. I think that. Yeah,
I think in China too.
In China, yeah.
Because they have the same thing that some people in the U.S. have, where they're like, "Oh, a lot of Chinese people look the same." I think they're like, "Oh, a lot of white people look the same." So I could pass as Federer. And then like the week after that, I dropped a vid sneaking into a Manny Pacquiao fight, and both of those vids blew up, and they were like my biggest videos to date. But still, it then kind of like slowed down again, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. So I started a suit jacket company called Susie's.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yes, half suit, half jersey, all class. And I actually moved back to the U.S. for like a year and a half to try to launch that. I was living in Clemson at the time because I got the licensing
South
for
Carolina?
Clemson. Yes. And I'll tell you what, I experienced more culture shock moving from Shanghai to Clemson than I did moving from Massachusetts to Shanghai, China. Like that was wild. And especially because I was like 28 or 29 at the time. So I was too old to be hanging out with college age kids. And then all the kids my age were like redneck as fuck.
They're all probably like married with like 5 kids by then. I mean, at 28, like I don't want to shit on the South too much because the Midwest is the same. This is how it was where I'm from too. Like by 28, if you're not married, there's like something wrong with you.
Yes.
In the South and in the Midwest.
But I would have to hang out with the unmarried people.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And they all had like,
those are the undesirables.
Yeah, everybody had at least a couple DUIs. But it was cool. I mean, there was like, that was my only time like really experiencing college football, having grown up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Like we don't like have that. So
yeah, what was your sports fandom? You're just like Boston pro sports. All that. Were you more Celtics, more Patriots, more?
Yeah, probably Patriots and Celtics.
Yeah. Which would check out for that era.
Yeah,
kid growing up.
Exactly.
Yeah, with Tom Brady, I imagine.
Yeah, and then like the wild thing is that, so right after college, I moved out to China, and Boston sports continued to dominate. So I think I've think I watched the Patriots win like 3 Super Bowls in China. I watched a Stanley Cup. I watched the Bruins win the Stanley Cup in China. I watched the Red Sox win a World Series in China.
Wow.
And those were fun experiences because they were all like early in the morning. Super Bowl Monday, as I call it, where the Super Bowl starts at like 7:30 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And bars out there will like open at 6 in the morning, and then you just pay a set price that comes with all you can drink, all you can eat.
Wow.
And so by the time the game's over, it's like 11:30 a.m. and everybody is hammered. And then you're like, let's keep partying.
Yeah. That's almost, yeah. I mean, you could never obviously do it that way because you can't have a football game kick off at 7:30 for the players' sake, but that's pretty sick. That would be a sick way to watch the Super Bowl in America if that's how it would.
It was
if
always
that's
a
the
lot
schedule.
of fun.
The idea of like getting done with the game at 11 a.m. and then you have the whole day to just
Yes, because the Super
Let it
Bowl,
rip.
it would fall over Chinese New Year where like the whole country shuts down, so no one had to work.
Oh yeah.
So you had that day off too, and you just
What?
go on rage.
Yeah. Do people care about the Super Bowl in China, or are you talking like is it bars for just like the American people that are kind of there?
It mainly bars for the Americans out there, but I mean, I played American football out in China, and there was like a growing number of Chinese football fans, and it was funny. They were all Patriots fans.
Oh really?
Yeah, because it's sort of that thing. If you're just learning
It's
about the sport,
Whoever the best teams are.
yeah, you want to root for the best team. So I was actually in this giant group chat over there when it was all Chinese Patriots fans, and they were probably bigger fans than I was. They knew everything about the team.
Yeah, I imagine like the Warriors are probably big there for basketball fans. I imagine like is
yeah.
that the
Yeah,
but basketball's
actually,
big in China.
It's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. So the Chinese basketball league, this CBA.
You got your by the way, you got your
I'm
you got your
wearing my
Jimmer Shanghai Sharks jersey on.
Shanghai Sharks jersey. A lot of China. Ooh, I can't hear myself anymore. Okay, I can hear myself now. A lot of Chinese people would be like, "No, I only watch the NBA. I don't care about the CBA." But the NBA out in China is huge. But I would always like with some Chinese people like, "Are you going to go to the Sharks game tonight?" And they're like, "Dude, I don't watch the Sharks."
Really?
Yeah, they're like, "I
That's-
watch the Lakers."
That's interesting. I mean, it makes sense that you want to watch the best, but also I felt like, you know, if it almost feels like America's too far away to like actually be able to follow it that closely. And the Chinese basketball league, it's not that bad, is it? Or maybe it is. How what's the quality of basketball like there? Because you see in America, you see these stat lines that come out every so often. Like Stephon Marbury scored like
Yeah,
60 something points.
Jimmer got
And it
75 in a game.
Yeah,
right
and,
now.
and I guess like my initial instinct to that would be like, wow, that league must suck if you can just let a dude drop 75. But then kind of happens in the NBA every so often. Like Donovan Mitchell scored 60 points in a game. Devin Booker had 60 points. Kobe scored 81 on an NBA team. So
yeah,
I'm not to say the Chinese are as good as the NBA, but I mean like it's funny how like when I see a headline that someone scored a ton of points in the Chinese league, I'm like, damn, that league must suck. But when I see that someone scored a ton of points in the NBA game, I think that guy's awesome. You know? It's like
yeah. I mean, the Chinese league, it's not great. Like the American players usually dominate, but there have been some solid players. Who was that one Chinese player that went to the U.S. and then he just like chose to return to China? Dung, or I don't know if it's, I forget. He was really good. And then I just don't think he enjoyed playing in the
United
U.S.
States.
and like when wanted to come back. But if you're a foreign player and if you like are no longer gonna be able to play in the NBA, I definitely think the Chinese league is the best league for you because it's the highest paying outside of the NBA. I think
my buddy Greg Oden played for the Dragons, the Jiangsu
Dragons.
Jiangsu Dragons. Yeah,
Yes.
he played a year for them. And I remember he put up like monster numbers, but he didn't get asked to come back because when they sign Americans, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's only like 2 international spots.
Yes.
And basically if you're one of the international guys, and you're not putting up just like insane numbers, then it's not worth it for them to bring you back. So he averaged like 20 and 15 or something.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, that's not good enough. We were hoping you'd average like 40 and 20 rebounds.
Yeah, that's the case. I think you're allowed like 2 or 3.
He did not like it. He said he did not like, but he was also, I don't know, what, Jiangsu, is that the
Jiangsu, that's a little more rural. It's the sort of thing where if you're playing one of those big Chinese cities like Shanghai, Beijing, or Guangzhou, you can probably have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you can find like every Western amenity that you were used to back home, you can find. But if you're playing in one of those rural cities, which some random ass cities in China have teams just because some like coal tycoon or some sort of dude who's like loaded is like, no, I have the money to just put this team in this random ass city in China. And that would be tough.
Where else have you been to basketball games overseas? What else is your experience?
So just China and Turkey, I think. I got to see a EuroLeague game out in Turkey. It was them versus Real Madrid, and those might be the only.
What would the team? Is it the
FS?
FS? Is that the team?
Yes. And
You went to one of their games. I had a friend of mine, a former teammate that played in Turkey, and I texted him telling him I was bringing you on the show to kind of talk about basketball overseas, and I said, what are the crazy atmospheres? He threw out that as one of them. He was like, Turkey is Galatasaray and Fibonacci.
Yeah.
And
Turkish
FS
fans are wild.
were the ones he said were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout the EuroLeague, they have a section of super fans that are all just banging drums, blowing horns. Like, it's wild. We don't really have that. We don't have like a band section here in the U.S.
No, we don't. In fact, we have like a DJ that plays like defense chants, so everyone knows who's on offense.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching one of your videos not too long ago. I was watching the Turkey one with Shane Larkin. He said something like, you're interviewing Shane Larkin in it, and he said something like, in America, you get a lot of people in the NBA, especially NBA games, that you're just going for like social clout almost, or you're going to be seen, or you're going to, to just get dressed up and have a night out, and it's not really about the basketball. And it feels like in Europe, it's the exact like no one's there for the gram. No one's there just for
not at all.
Unless we're talking about drugs. They might be there for that. They're not there for just to be seen. They're there for a fucking party, and it just looks like it's crazy, which is I don't know, part of the reason, like, so I don't know how I want to go about doing this, but when I got hired here, I talked to Erica about, like, she's like, what are things you want to do outside of doing a college basketball thing? And I just kept bringing your name up, and I don't want to like impose. This is like the uncomfortable position I'm putting myself in, because I'm a social overthinker, Donnie, and it's very okay for you to just be like, I have zero interest in any of this. But that was something I just kept mentioning. It was like, I watched you in PFT like go to Hong Kong, and I was like, that looks fucking awesome. I watched you and White Sox Dave go to Dominican Republic. And I was like, that looks awesome. And I've always had an interest, especially as a guy who covers college basketball. And then like the draft comes along, and there's always like 6 or 7 dudes from overseas. And then I don't really get in fights, but it just there's like a cultural tug of war when the draft comes along, because people want to tell you that college kind of stinks and overseas is where it's at, and it just sort of, I don't know, it's this whole it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, I got to go see this for myself. I want to go to EuroLeague games, or I want to go see like what the rest of the world has to offer in terms of basketball. So yeah, I thought I wanted to, we don't have to agree to do anything. I'm not asking you to commit to anything, Donnie, but I just wanted to, like, hypothetically, if you and I were to go on a trip together, to document basketball outside of the United States, I would love to figure out where we should go.
And I would be 100% down, because from what I've found, like, I've only filmed at a game in Turkey and then games in China, but those vids are a lot of fans' favorite content of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
People love it?
Yeah, people love those vids. And so I would love to experience some other atmospheres.
Yeah. I will probably not really help your videos much. I'll probably detract from them, but
it'll be good, because like I can be the foreign expert, the travel expert, and you can be the basketball guy.
I'll be the basketball guy that's like, they should not be playing like that. Like I can chime in and be like, the way they're playing right now is fucking bananas that they're doing it this way, or something else. So yeah, where should we start? What is, I guess my first thought is, what in your mind are you after with this? Like what would you say would make for a successful trip? Like,
It just has to be a unique atmosphere. Like we can't travel across the country and then we're like, all right, this just feels like we're at a high school game.
Yeah, right.
Back in the U.S. But it seems like there are a lot of awesome atmospheres.
There are a lot of awesome atmospheres. My fear with like going to somewhere like say Australia, who has a great professional league, and there are a lot of guys coming out of high school. Now Louisville just had a kid, a 5-star that had committed to Louisville, was on campus, was ready to start classes, and then like right before classes started, he's like, actually, I'm going to Australia. And he's playing in the Australian league. And he kind of sucks actually out of the gate. The early returns say he's not that good. But I feel like Australia might be too similar to America. I feel like it would just be.
Yeah, I think that's the case. Or just I don't think culturally they do anything at the games that would just be like, wow, this is nuts.
It would just feel like an NBA game that's not as good as the NBA.
Yeah,
probably, or maybe not. I don't know, but that doesn't jump out to me as like a. That would be culture shock. That's kind of what you're going for, right? It's like the culture shock.
There's got to be a little bit of culture shock. And it seems like there's places all over Europe where you would get that, like playing in Greece or Serbia. Those games are supposed to be
the Serbian video. I sent it to TJ. We put it out on the Barstool channel. But the video of Serbia played in this. It was outside. I did see that. Look at this atmosphere.
Yeah, that is the fact. So, I went to a soccer game in Serbia, and it was like that with flares everywhere. But in that case, you're outside. Like the fact that they have the flares going nuts in an indoor gym is wild.
What soccer? Do you remember the
Red Star versus Partisan, which is supposed to be one of the most.
Oh, that's the basketball team.
Yeah,
that's the part. That's the.
Yeah, those fans hate each other.
Oh, really? The Red Star Partisan.
Red Star Partisan fans and they're also the fan clubs are sort of like mob run. So in the past, there's been shootings like before games where like a lot of people have gotten killed because of this rivalry.
So when someone tells you that, like you're like, yeah, sure, I'll go to the Balkans, I'll go to Serbia, I'll go to the soccer game. And then I'm sure at some point before the game, someone pulled you aside and was like, hey, just FYI, this is intense. There've been a few people that have been killed and yada yada. Anyway, good luck.
Yes, like I went to it with a partisan fan, and we weren't sitting in the like crazy fan sections, which are behind each goal. He was like, that might not be safe. So I was with this guy, and they have the fans so separated. Like pre-game, you have the Red Star fans on like this one area on the far side of the stadium, the partisan fans on the other side, and then when you're actually in the game, they have an open section where no one's allowed to sit, which is sort of like a buffer zone. So there's like no mixing of fans at all.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
that is crazy. Like that does not happen in America because like it's not. Yeah,
and that's why like
the idea of going to an NBA game
and they're just like worried like people would be getting stabbed or shot. Like we get a lot of great fights like where just like someone's getting punched in the face and like it's not a huge deal, but they're like, no, if we had the fans intermingled out in Serbia, there would be some bloodshed.
So have you ever had a close call? Have you ever personally been in Serbia or elsewhere where you're traveling where you're just like, that was not fun or funny, that was like actually I just shit my pants? I
mean, when I was at the baseball game down in DR with White Sox Dave, I got pickpocketed after the game, but I wasn't mugged or anything like that. But I did feel like slightly in danger because we were there for their World Series, and after that, I was also wearing the opposing team's jersey. And it was a home game. I was like the only one.
Oh shit!
Wearing a green jersey in the entire stadium. But yeah, I mean, if that's the worst that happened. So no, I mean, I've never had like a knife pulled on me. I've never had a gun pulled on me. Nick had a knife pulled on him in Southern Illinois, but I have not been.
Well, Nick just seems to have the worst luck.
Yes. It seems like that's the case.
But that danger's on victim blaming, but it's also like, damn, dude, how does this?
Yeah. I don't know if they just see him as like an easy target or something.
Yeah, that sucks. Serbia, we could do like go check out Jokic's I mean, the best player in the world is Serbian, and he races horses in his spare time.
Oh yeah, that would be sick. And it's,
like go see where
it's
his
very
horses
close
are.
to Greece too, so we could also
just do a double dip.
Yeah,
because Greece is another one that like was on my list. Is like when you search insane atmospheres in Europe, Greece pops up. The Panathinaikos, is that how you say it? I don't know. Panathinaikos.
Yeah, like Olympiakos.
Panathinaikos, I think.
That's
That's the
right.
rivalry. First of all, on Panathinaikos, Kyle Guy just signed there, who is a guy I know pretty well. He won Most Outstanding Player in the 2019 Final Four. He played at Virginia. He won the national championship and all that. Yeah. He's from Indiana, though, and I know him pretty well. And I just saw that he signed to play there. And the reason I should be able to say it, and I can't. The reason they are notable to college basketball people is that Rick Pitino, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
Rick Pitino coached there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when I was at the Ringer, there's this guy, John Gonzalez, who's married to Colleen Wolfe of NFL Network, by the way. John Gonzalez is awesome, and he went to Greece and did a story on Rick Pitino, and he came back and was just like, holy shit, this place is insane. And I've had like an interest in that rivalry. He said that rivalry is like the most insane shit he's ever seen, and he's a Philly guy, so like that caught my attention. I was like,
no,
for you to say that.
It.
But yeah, Greece was one that people kept bringing up as like the basketball there, the atmosphere is just like on a completely different level.
Yeah, and I don't think we'd have to worry about our safety. It seems like it's the players on the court,
right?
Like sometimes like fans will be throwing shit at them. Sam Decker, who played in Turkey, said he was like shooting a foul shot and someone hit him with a battery in the leg.
In Turkey?
Yeah, just threw it. And so sometimes the players' benches have like this like plastic protection covering over them, and you just constantly hear like thud, boom, 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 where people are just throwing shit at it.
Oh my God.
And the scariest thing I heard was that in Turkey there was like a trend where people were lighting coins until they got like really, really hot and then throwing those on the court, trying to hit players. Like that is just, I don't think that can just be like, oh, he's just a passionate fan.
Yeah, he's just like, he just, oh, I'm sorry, I care too much. Is that
that just sounds very malicious.
I have a former teammate at Ohio State that's Serbian who I still keep in contact with, and I think he lives in California, but he goes back to Belgrade a lot. Nikola Ketzman is his name. And if we wanted to do Serbia, he would 100% be in on like, I don't know, translating for it, like going with, like he'll probably just be there anyway. And then I have a Greek teammate, funny enough, Zissis Serakopoulos, he's played in the Greek leagues for like the last 10 or 15 years, I think. Big Z, and I think he might be retired. I got to reach out to him. But yeah, that was something that the Pana. I sent TJ one of the videos of Pana. Look at this. This is the home crowd of the place that Kyle Guy now plays at and Rick Pitino used to coach at. It's just fucking like there's nothing like college basketball is not even close to this.
No,
that is
not at all.
It's like,
jeez. Yeah, I mean it was.
They got like flare. Like that one's inside it. That's inside a gym. They got the flares inside the gym.
Yeah,
the other,
no, has to just fill with smoke.
I can't imagine coming out of the tunnel for layup lines.
Yeah, and they all have their own songs. Like it's a lot like European soccer where, each team has 5 songs. It's like the Celtics don't have any songs that we like sing for the team.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like,
we're just like,
let's go Celtics.
Let's go C's. And everyone's just screaming, let's go C's the whole game.
And the Celtics fans, as far as the NBA goes, the Celtics fans probably are, if not the best, then close to it in terms of like being rowdy and being loud and being, like I do think that's and still they don't even scratch the surface of what.
Yeah, no, I mean, no offense to the Celtics, but like I do think the game in Turkey, the fans were louder. And that wasn't even a playoff game, I don't think.
The other thing about Panathinaikos that I remember is John Gonzalez, my former colleague, he said it was crazy. He wrote this article, and I went back and I pulled the quote from the article because it stuck with me forever. He was talking about the guy who owns that team, the Panathinaikos team. His name is Dimitris Giannakopoulos. He said this about him. He said he's sort of a Greek Al Davis if Davis had been richer and younger and given far fewer fucks. Giannakopoulos has been fined and banned from EuroLeague games numerous times for numerous infractions, including and especially for threatening the lives of multiple referees and also their families, as well as opposing fans. This is the owner of the team. The owner of the team has been banned from games because he threatened to kill the refs.
Jesus. And he probably didn't even get in that much trouble.
This is TJ, do you have the picture of the owner, by the way? Donnie would love this. This is the owner posted on his Instagram. He got shoulder surgery one time and was smoking cigs in the hospital.
Looks like the man. He kind of looks like Andrew Schultz. I don't know. That's hilarious. Phil Jackson said, because he used to coach in Puerto Rico, which that is another league I've heard a lot of great things about. I've heard it's wild and insanely passionate. But, I think he shared this story on The Last Dance, or that when he was a coach out there, the mayor of the town where he coached shot a ref in the leg, and like his punishment was that like he wasn't allowed to go to a game or something like that. Like that was his only punishment. He also
suspended for one. He shoots the ref, and the ref just like pulls out a red card.
Yeah,
it's just like this is all they could do, buddy. You're ejected from this game. Yeah. So I Greece and Serbia are big ones, but also like I don't know if the fact that like there are videos already of their atmospheres is that a detriment, or is it like we do it our own way? Like what?
No, because I think like you just see a 3-second clip, you don't get the full experience.
Yeah.
If we're there, you get the full experience.
Yeah,
and people would love to just see us like a fish out of water, like in that atmosphere.
Taking it in for the first time. Yeah, you're right. Serbia and Greece are by each other. There's a world we could do both.
Yeah.
I wonder what the schedules are. I think do you remember when the EuroLeague
I think their finals.
When were you there in Turkey?
I was there like in March, the end of March, but I think their finals are in May sometime.
Oh,
like that.
That's perfect then.
Yeah,
That'd be perfect for me. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, March Madness. I don't know how well that would go over if I. Told Dave I was leaving. I was like, you hired me to cover March Madness, but I'm gonna go to Serbia.
I'm gonna go to
Serbia for a few
instead.
weeks.
While we're out there, we might want to catch a water polo match too, because someone sent me a clip. It looked exactly like the clips we've shared, but they were at a water polo match.
What?
Yeah, they had flares there too.
Water polo?
Yes. Maybe that was Croatian water polo. I know that's one of the most popular sports in Croatia, but I did not know they got down like that.
That's crazy.
For water polo.
I've heard Puerto Rico's cool too, for basketball.
Yes.
I've heard it's like a really good league, and I think if I remember right, their league is more in the summer than.
Yes, yeah.
So there are guys I know that have done both, where they'll like play in Europe, and then after they're done in Europe, they go to Puerto Rico because the leagues sync up where you could just do both. But yeah, Puerto Rico would be. I've never been to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's very close too. It would be a long flight.
Yeah, how much does that like factor in as far as like, you know, expenses and all that sort of thing when you're trying to figure all this out?
I guess I used to have no idea what the budgets were for my trip, and I would just be like, "Can I do this?" They'd be like, "Yeah," and I'd be like, "All right, well, like, do me and the camera guy have to share a hotel room, or like, can we get to?" And then finally last year they kind of like told me, "All right, per quarter, if you're doing unsponsored content, this is the budget you can use." But if something's like pitched far enough in advance and they know it's going to be solid content, they can always
we could get it sponsored. But I feel like having you roughing it that's the bitch of it, is like you roughing it makes it more interesting, you know, like a video series where you're like, we're going to Serbia for basketball games and we're going to stay in the Ritz-Carlton and you know, have a spa day before we go.
Yeah.
That doesn't hit as well, even if you could afford it, you know?
Yes,
so like that's the balance you have to strike is
true.
You want to rough it for the content, but you want to not rough it for your own sanity.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think at first I used to stay in some pretty crappy hotels. Now, a lot of the times when you travel abroad, you're like, oh, for like $50 to $100, I can get a solid hotel. Where, you know, in the U.S., if you're traveling, you got to be paying at least $200 for a hotel. Usually a lot more.
How much do you map stuff out when you plan trips? Like, how much are you a planner, and how much of it is just like, let's just get there and see what happens?
Before a trip, I'll at least take a look and like map out, you know, 5 or 6 things that I think could make a solid vid.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't really know like what's going to happen once I'm there, but I'm like, we could do a vid on this. We could do a vid on this. And then the rest of the stuff, it's like, let's just see what opportunities arise once I'm out there.
Another place I wanted to throw at you that is sneakily, but maybe not that sneakily, they're nuts about basketball is the Philippines.
I was about to bring that up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think it's the only place in the world outside of the U.S. that has huge college basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. So a guy I used to work with at Grantland a million years ago is my editor, Rafe Bartholomew. Actually, I'm going to plug his book real quick. He wrote a book called Pacific Rims that was all about like basketball in the Philippines. And it opened my eyes to just like these people are, I would say after America, they're probably number 2 in terms of like the country that loves basketball the most.
Yeah.
But it was super interesting to me because, respectfully to any Filipinos listening, they don't have any good players. Like it's not like the Filipinos, you know, the Philippines aren't pumping out awesome players left and right. Like Serbia and Greece, obviously Giannis and Jokic.
Yes.
So I just found that super fascinating, but it's like they love watching it. My understanding is that they just like throw milk cartons on the crates on the sides of, they'll just like hammer them onto the sides of walls and play basketball in the streets, and like people are just like fucking nuts about basketball there in a way that really nowhere else other than America they are. And I've always like kind of had that in the back of my mind, but I don't know anything about the Philippines otherwise.
I know quite a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've been to the Philippines 3 times, but I never made it to a basketball game. I did make it to a cockfight there. I think maybe it goes cockfighting and then basketball, because they have an event in the Philippines. It's known as the Super Bowl of cockfighting, and it's held in their like main arena that can fit like 70,000 people.
Oh my God.
And they're all there just watching chickens fight to the death. Look it up. That is insane. So yeah, I got to watch a couple cockfights. I didn't get to see the Super Bowl of cockfighting, but yeah, I've heard great things about basketball over there. Someone told me that college basketball in the Philippines is actually like more popular than professional basketball.
Oh, really?
Which is wild to me.
All right. Well,
yeah,
I would do that. I would do the Philippines.
I mean,
because I know, like, the Philippines for me checks the box of what you were saying when we started.
Culture
like,
shock.
Yeah, like I know enough to know that I know nothing. You know, like I know enough to know that it's like kind of worth going to, but other than that, I know nothing about the like. Yeah, I would. It would definitely be a culture shock to me, or maybe not. I don't know. I've never been. I don't really know a ton about it. I don't spend a lot of time like researching a vacation trip to the Philippines, so it's not something I've really ever thought about. But I just know they love basketball over there.
Yeah, they do. And I think you were saying like there's no good Filipino players in the NBA. I think just because they're pretty short in general. Like when I was in the Philippines, I don't remember seeing any tall people. So that could be what's holding them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just searched Filipino basketball players. Jordan Clarkson, that's right. He represented the World Cup was just in Japan and the Philippines that nobody cared about. But yeah, Jordan Clarkson represented them. But is
the FIBA Basketball World Cup, is that every 4 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and nobody cares about it. It's a really bizarre thing. I don't understand. I mean, the Olympics are the big one.
Yeah.
And then the FIBA, every country seems to send a team, and all the teams that go seem to try to win it. But then when it's over, all the teams that didn't win are like, yeah, we didn't really give a shit about this anyway. It's a very bizarre.
I did not hear much about that. But no, I mean, we would have a great time in the Philippines. The only bad thing I had happen to me in the Philippines was I got E. coli from eating a burger at a cockfight, and I think the lettuce on the burger had been washed in poop water. So
oh my God.
that was maybe the closest to death I've ever been on one of my trips. I was in rough shape.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, I've heard it's awesome out there.
Yeah, I don't. South America. Is there anything in South America that's interesting? Is there?
I know about Puerto Rican ball, but I don't know if it's
like Brazil. Brazil has some good basketball players. Like Oscar Schmidt is a dude that he gets credited as being the all-time leading scorer in the history of basketball. He's like the best player to never play in the NBA, and he played like 30 years of basketball like in every league in the world except the NBA because he kept turning down offers. And I remember reading about Oscar Schmidt when I was a kid and being like, wow, there's like just some Brazilian out there that's like just not coming to the NBA. That's crazy. And then they've had some guys through the years too, like Nene and Leandro Barbosa, and I'm trying to think of other dudes, but no South American country have I ever really heard as like being serious about like having a league that's worth visiting.
I haven't heard that either.
But also, I don't know if that makes it more interesting that I'm sure they do have a pro league, and if the pro league is terrible, is that interesting? I don't know.
I mean, as long as it really doesn't matter if the players on the court aren't that good, as long as the fans were crazy passionate. Like, yeah, that's the main thing we want.
We want passionate fans.
Yeah, passionate
so
fans.
China, what about China? I mean, you've kind of already done it, but is there something untold from Chinese basketball?
There is, which I only learned about this morning when I was just like looking up some overseas basketball stuff. I had not heard of this. There's this like Chinese village league now where they play in like really rural villages in China, but it's attracting crazy amounts of people. It will be like a village that normally has like 1,500 people. And for these games, which are played outside, they're attracting 20,000 people. Like if I send TJ a photo, could he?
Yeah, throw that up.
Could he bring it up? Or if you
so
search.
So it's like Rucker Park, but the Chinese version where it's just like a pickup game outside and people flock to it.
Yeah. Like if you just search Village Basketball China and then pull up the photos, you can see they're having more than 20,000 people at these games, which is just like insane. This is all just like outside.
Oh my God. So are these guys like professional? Are they semi-pro, or is it just like dudes from the neighborhood that just want to play pickup?
I think they're amateur players. So yeah, they aren't. If they were pro, they'd be playing in the
That's crazy.
CBA. But it's these like mountain villages in the middle of nowhere, and
All right, pardon my ignorance. What's the situation with China right now as far as traveling there, going there?
Americans are finally allowed back.
Really?
Yeah. And I am trying to plan a return trip at some point. I won't be like moving back there full time, but when I left China, it was just I came home for the holidays, and then COVID got bad there, and then it spread to the U.S., and then they closed the borders. So like I haven't been back since, and I never really got to say goodbye. But if we made it to one of these village,
that would be.
games,
I think that seems like it would be because you've already kind of done the Chinese basketball.
Yes, I mean obviously
association thing, the pro league deal. But a village game, can I get in one of these games? We should try to find a way to you and I play in one of these village games.
Yeah, this is like I think you could hold your own.
That would be
in one of these games. If you just hopped in the CBA, I don't know if you'd be able to.
Yeah, probably not anymore. No, I would like to think there was a time where I could have like hidden in the corner and no one would have really noticed except for the out of shape white guy. But those days have come and gone. But like in a village pickup game, I like to think that I could hang with.
That would be insane. Like seeing you play in front of 20,000 people in a Chinese village. That would be awesome.
I haven't played in a long time though, so I'd have to start training. I'd have to get, but that'd be worth it, dude. That'd be sick. TJ, what do we think? What is your read on this so far? What interests you?
The Serbia Greece duo might be the play.
That seems pretty fucking intense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also like language barrier wise, I think a lot of people in those countries speak English, if I'm not mistaken.
They also, I think they at least maybe know a little bit.
Right.
They also speak English in the Philippines. It's like one of their official languages, which is nice.
I do have. Do you have like friends, connections, or anything else to any of these places? Is there like anybody that you can think of that would?
So I have a friend who married a Filipino woman, and then he was living in the Philippines up until COVID, and then when that happened, he was like, I should probably get back to the U.S. But I think he still has some connections out there.
Yeah, you still have.
I don't have any connections in this rural Chinese village, but I could definitely look into it. Because I like this was something that I think has only popped up in the last year, because there was not like a village basketball league when I was out in China.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I think either the village in China or a Greece Serbia trip, because I have a very Kets would hook us up. I feel good about Serbia. Like Serbia, I'd get my buddy that I played at Ohio State with, and he was born in Belgrade, born and raised in Belgrade, and he knows his shit.
Yes.
And he played professionally. He played basketball, and he's he probably knows he could get us like probably like access to players and all sorts of shit.
The only thing is that I have filmed a series in Serbia, but I
You did the basketball.
I never filmed
you did the soccer. I mean,
yeah, I did the soccer. I never went to a basketball game there. I went to like a handball game there, which was actually pretty cool.
Well, no, yeah, well, maybe not then. If you kind of because that's part of it too. Is I wanted to make sense for you. That's what I mean.
I've never been to Greece, which would obviously be sweet. But they are so close that like I would still want to go to a Serbian basketball game.
We could still pop up
if we were out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had when I went to the game in Turkey, my friend put me in touch with a Turkish sports journalist, so I was able to get a press pass to that, and I was just like wandering around the stadium. At one point, I was in the press box, but not actually like doing press work. I was just like drinking. Actually, I don't think they sell beers in Turkey, but I was just cheering on the team and going nuts. And I had someone walk up to me being like, "What are you doing here? Like, who the fuck are you? Can you please go sit with the fans? Like, you do not look like a journalist."
That's funny.
So yeah, I think we wouldn't want to be in the press box. We would want to be with the fans.
With the fans. Yeah, the question would just become how, when we say with the fans, what do we mean by? Do we want to go full like
neutral, or just?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel it seems based on the videos we're seeing, I don't know if you can be neutral. I feel like it's you're either with us or we're gonna.
Yeah, I think we would have to choose a fan base and just make sure that we only stay with that fan base.
Yeah,
and then after the game, just take the jerseys off.
Yeah.
Because I was like reading something, they were like in Serbia, after the games, like it's very dangerous that you want to stay away from gas station. Who's this guy saying? What do you say? Yeah, he goes, if you happen to be visiting Serbia and checking out a clash between these Belgrade basketball teams, be careful when you're refueling. Why? Because gas stations between that town and the capital were a prime target for inter-fan violence. Sometimes fans waited deliberately to attack rivals when they stopped for gas.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I think just after the game, we would take the
jerseys off.
Yeah,
we're just like, just normal-ass dudes walking around. We had, there's a basketball game tonight? We didn't even know.
And also, I mean, once they find out we're Americans, I don't know. I think they're just like, oh, well, welcome to Serbia. You're clearly not like a diehard fan.
So I'm hoping my guy Kets would take care of us. I hope.
Yeah.
And Zisis and Greece. And if you wanted to do Greece, Panathinaikos seems like, I mean, if Kyle Guy's there, I don't know. He just signed though, so I don't know how much like power he has there and all that. But I could reach out to Kyle Guy.
Yeah,
I could have Big Z help us. I just looked it up. It's an hour and a half flight from Belgrade to Athens. So even if you took a train or took something else, they can't be that far apart from each other.
No, not
Belgrade
at all.
and Athens. Yeah, that would be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Maybe that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I know when the Euro League is played, and then I have no idea when the Filipino League is played or when those games in Chinese villages happen.
The Chinese village thing would be that I think I've landed on like Greece probably being the play, but then if not the Chinese villages. If Greece can't happen for some reason or like the schedule doesn't line up or anything else.
Yeah,
going to the Chinese village would be awesome.
Like I plan on returning to China at some point, and when I do, I'll
let me know.
Yeah,
and I'll start. I'll start working out so I can take these Chinese dudes.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to do some more research.
If we went to the Philippines, I think you and I could have some success playing 2-on-2. I've never even seen you play basketball, but are you good at basketball? Rate your game.
I mean, compared to this office, yeah, I mean, I might be okay, but I played high school ball, but I went to a pretty small high school, and I guess a lot of people hated the coach. So by the time I was a junior, every senior on the team had quit. So then I was just like automatically starting on the team. But our team was so bad, and like I think we just won only 4 games that season. And just like most of my time in high school, every team I was on sucked. And so eventually I was like, I'm just gonna quit. This is just like really hurting my confidence in life in general.
Yeah.
Just like going out and only winning a couple games a season. I was like, this is going to have like a lasting impact on my ego.
But to your point, I mean, you're probably way better than everybody in this office.
Yeah, it's wild how the new office is just going to have like a full size basketball court. And we're probably one of like the least athletic when it comes to basketball in terms of like companies like in Chicago. If there was a league, if there was just like a company basketball league amongst like all corporations in Chicago, I don't think we would fare too well.
I'm trying to figure out who would be the starting 5 for the Barstool intramural team.
So it's you for sure.
I would like to think I would be on that.
You're the only given. Brandon Walker likes to talk about how he played college ball, which I mean that's impressive. We don't have a lot of college basketball players.
Brandon is. He's a big boy, so that helps. He's 6'5", but I don't know. I've seen him shoot on this pop-up shot, and it does not look good.
Okay.
Big Cat is sneakily good. I just worry about his stamina. He gets a little fussy once he has to run up and down the court a few times. But I've seen him play a little bit, and he's not as bad as you might think.
Like
I don't even know who else.
I think we might like have some production people that are
that's probably
better
the answer
than content.
That's probably the answer.
If we were combining the New York and Chicago office, like Billy Football is probably not bad.
Yeah.
Dana Beers, I don't know.
I was told Pat was really good.
Yeah.
I was told Pat could hoop. Yeah.
Yeah, Pat can hoop. Francis is just athletic, but he's not a basketball player, but he would at least have the stamina and the height.
Yeah. But then Francis would like overthink everything. He's like
yeah, for sure.
Francis would turn it into like a sociological, like, how did I get here and who are these people? Where have you been? Like, what video series did you do that didn't pop off like you thought it should be? You're like, damn, I'm really proud of that. And
it's usually not like a full series. Like I feel like all the series have done pretty well, but there have been like vids where I was like, oh, I thought that one vid in this series was going to do a lot better. But I'm trying to think about what are some of my,
like, what are the ones you're proud of? You're like, even though this may not have been a commercial blockbuster, but damn it, that was like an insane trip, and I absolutely love making that video or meeting that person or trying that thing.
I gotta open up my account. What is that? When I was in Colombia, I made a music video with this random Colombian rapper that I met. like in the hood of Colombia. And that did not pop off as much as I thought it would.
Yeah.
But
How much of that goes into making these? Like, how much of it is like, what the people might want, what might do numbies say versus like what you're just interested in when you like set out to.
I'll usually, if I'm planning a trip, I'll be like, all right, like these 2 vids will just pop off. You can think of an easy, catchy title for YouTube, and people will be super into it. And then, but while I'm there, I just find really interesting things that I want to film a vid on that I don't necessarily know if it will translate to YouTube or not.
Just trust your instinct, because at this point, it's worked, right?
I was invited to an American football game this November between Uganda and Kenya, because I guess they're really trying to grow the game out there. And it's like I haven't fully decided if I'm going to go, but I'm like, that would
be amazing.
That'd be cool.
That would be very fascinating to watch. Uganda, Kenya playing American football.
Yeah.
Is it like a tournament of some sort, like a World Cup type deal? Like what? Why?
It's called the Africa Zone Series, 2023. I saw a flyer for it, and then I just reached out to them. And then when they heard this American journalist wanted to come, they're like, "Oh, please come! Like, we'll roll out the red carpet for you." So it's
you should convince them that you're like the voice of football in this country.
Yes,
You're like
exactly. Like I might be able
you're
to
Adam
get
Schefter. You're
I might be able to get like a coaching gig for that game or something. So I know they're doing full pads, Kenya versus Uganda, but then Zimbabwe and the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, are playing too, but they're just playing flag football because I guess it's not, the sport isn't as developed. Oh, I have a vid that I thought was really going to pop off, and it did not, but it's like the craziest thing ever. When I was in Turkey, I went to a camel wrestling festival.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Now, I think the reason it didn't pop off on YouTube as much is that YouTube doesn't really want to promote camel wrestling.
Yeah, animals. Yeah.
Yeah, but it like the camels weren't harmed. Like how you do it, camels have really long necks, and it's kind of like thumb wrestling, but with the camel's necks. So like each camel's trying to pin the other camel using his neck.
Is this like are humans on top of them controlling them, or they just kind of you just kind of turn them loose like a cockfight?
You just turn them loose, but then humans are there with these ropes. So like after one gets pinned, then they have to pull them apart.
Oh my God.
And I guess it happens naturally in the wild too. It's usually if there's a female camel around who's in musk, is that what it's called? When you're like in heat.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're horned up.
Yeah. Then all the horny camels get really competitive and just like start to wrestle naturally. So the way they do it for these events is they have this one female camel who's in heat that they just like have walking circles around the stadium, and then they bring in these giant male camels and they'll just start facing off right off the bat.
That's incredible.
And on that same trip, I also got to see bull wrestling, which it's not like American bull riding or Spanish bull fighting. It's kind of like sumo wrestling with bulls. There's just like a giant circle in a field, and the two bulls charge each other and try to push the other one out of the circle.
That's incredible.
And that vid did not do as well either. I think just because like YouTube is they're like, I don't know, like, is this even legal? Like, but it is. It's officially legal in Turkey at least.
Yeah, that's wild. That's
So that's the thing. It's like with YouTube, if you get like, I put a vid of me and White Sox Dave smoking weed in the Dominican hood, which like I think that's the most third world place I've been. Like it was, I think it was it was the most dangerous neighborhood of Santo Domingo.
Oh shit.
But we met actually the Uber driver who picked us up at the airport was like, oh, I would love to show you this place. It's a great place to film. If you pay me $200, I'll make sure you don't get stabbed or robbed. And so we did have like someone trying to keep us safe. But I thought that vid was going to be big, but then like me and Dave are smoking weed in the video, so then it gets age restricted on YouTube, and it ends up not getting as many views.
Do you say no to stuff ever? Like in terms of drugs or food or what's an example of a time where someone's like, dude, try this, and you're like, that's a bridge too far? Does that happen?
I mean, if someone offered me heroin, I would.
Yeah.
I think I would say no.
I bring it up because the video of you doing the Mad Honey and on the Mt Everest series, which everyone, if you have not watched, was absolutely incredible. You did the Everest Base Camp series that Donnie did.
Yes.
Go watch that. But I'm watching it, and like it's not that you're doing it. It's more of like your demeanor of just like, yeah, fuck it, yeah, go ahead, give it to, and like you don't. I feel like my mother might say Donnie should ask more questions about what this is before he dives in.
My parents would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which isn't to say I don't know how I am, because I'm not really in these situations that often. So I guess if we were to do a trip, I would find out. But I'm just curious, like how much thinking goes into that sort of thing with someone just like slips you something, or even food wise. If you're at like a wild fucking market and they're carving up some animal you don't even know, and someone's like, just take a bite of this, do you even ask what it is?
Yeah, I'll ask, but like most food I will try, as long as it's something that the people there actually eat.
Yeah.
If they're just like handing me a piece of shit and they'd be like, oh, well, you can try eating this.
Yeah.
But no, if it's something that like that culture is known to eat, I'll try it.
Okay.
And then when it comes to drugs, like, with the Mad Honey, I had done all my research on like what Mad Honey was.
I got you.
Prior to it, I was just an idiot for like, I took like 2 teaspoons, which was the amount you were supposed to take, and waited an hour and was like, I'm not feeling anything. And then just took like another giant tablespoon. So yeah, I should have just waited that out. But that vid now has 500,000 views, where if I'd only taken the recommended amount, the content wouldn't have been as good.
That's right.
That's like weird, because 2 of my largest vids, it's doing Molly with PFT at Hong Kong Sevens, and then the Mad Honey vid. And I remember when I put out the Hong Kong Sevens vid with PFT, like my parents hit me up and they were furious. They're like, why are you doing drugs on camera? First of all, that was PFT's idea. He had never tried Molly, and like this guy offered it to us, and like PFT was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, film me taking it. And I was like, are you sure like you want yourself actually on camera taking Molly? He didn't care at all. And that vid blew up. My parents were pissed, but I remember I got an email from Erica, and she was like, this is awesome content. Like, we need to share this on all of the platforms. Now, this was before the Penn deal. I think while we were owned by Penn, I was like, okay, I kind of need to like, can't be putting out a lot of drug content.
Yeah.
Even though it's not like I'm taking these drugs and then placing bets.
Right.
But I was just like, Penn like might have a problem with that long term.
Yeah.
Now that we're not owned by Penn, I mean, if those vids are getting the most views, and if Barstool wants the most views as possible, like,
sorry, Mom.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, I would do some more vids, but yes, I'm always in control, except for, after the Mad Honey, I was not in control.
Yeah. Well, the Mad Honey one just stood out to me as like, I want to think that Donnie knows what he's doing, but also everything about this video speaks to the contrary.
Yes,
So
no, once it hit, I was on the floor, and at one point I was like, Michelangelo, like, Google antidote for Mad Honey poisoning, and he was like, I'm not seeing anything. And at one point, I think I was like, all right, can you like call 911 or something? But
oh my God.
Luckily, I just puked for 3 hours, and I woke up feeling fine. But yeah, well, I do try to do my research, and I only take informed risks.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You'll bungee jump, but you need to know, like, you looked up the company that you're bungee jumping from, so you're still doing something that's kind of reckless and crazy and dangerous, but you're like, they got good reviews on Google. They got 4.8 stars, so like, it can't be that bad, right?
Yeah.
Quick break to talk about our friends at Gametime. Created by fans for fans, Gametime is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. What kind of sports, concerts, and shows am I talking about? Oh, I don't know. This Saturday, the college football slate. No matter where you are in this country, there is probably, now I have not looked this up to confirm, but I'm going to take a pretty educated guess, there is probably a very, very, very good college football game happening within driving distance of where you are. And if you want to go to said college football game, it is all possible with the gametime app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. They'll even credit you 110% of the seat price if you can find a better deal elsewhere. I'll read that again. They will credit you 110% of the seat price if you can find a better deal elsewhere. You can also get limited-time discounts with exclusive flash deals. The purchase process takes just 2 taps and 10 seconds, and once you buy your tickets, they're delivered directly to your phone. No printer needed. The app also allows you to easily share tickets with friends via text, so you can get into the game seamlessly. Skip the hassle and enjoy the moment. Download the gametime app or go to the website, enter your email, and use the code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but go download the gametime app, enter your email, use code Titus for $20 off your first purchase. Go watch some college football this Saturday, and thank Gametime for it. Before I let you go, we got to talk about the dozen.
Okay.
We used to be teammates on the dozen, on Team Smockin. We're no longer teammates. What happened from your perspective?
So I was out in Ireland getting married, and then first I got a text from Ken Jack, and he was like, yo, we're thinking of adding Mintz to the team, but we still want you part of the team as sort of like a coach or a manager or something like that. And like, and I know like Hank had been like, he was like, I was a coach last season and it felt kind of pointless. Like I like don't really know if it's worth doing. Now I wasn't really upset at Ken Jack for being like, we're going to bring in Mintz. I think it does make sense. Like, me and Ken Jack, our biggest strengths are probably history, geography, some movie pop culture stuff. But then we have a large gap in sports, which I think Mintz could fill. So yeah, I wasn't offended. I mean, we've made the playoffs every year, but we've never made it past the first round. We made it past the first round.
We won one playoff game one time. And then we lost to the Yak.
So, I mean, I think our team has a lot of potential that we haven't reached, and if bringing in Mintz is what you have to do, then so be it. But I was just like, okay, we can like talk when I'm back in the U.S. later. And then Jersey Jerry is like, Jerry Bomb, well, like Wonton Don being replaced by Mintz. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I said we'd handle this when I'm back in the U.S. It's the day before my wedding, and now like I'm getting all these tweets like, oh, what do you think about the Smockin drama? So yeah, I was just upset like the way it came out, but I do think like Mintz would be a solid addition to the team.
Well, you were. It frustrated me because you obviously know a lot about a lot. It's just that Jeff Delow just had it out for you. It felt like, because you would never get asked. Even the geography question we got in the dozen tournament this past.
The
this
population
past tournament
of Orlando or something.
Yeah, it was like it was like something like bizarre that was like, or no, we got like an Iowa question. It was like what town in Iowa? Because Jeff's like, the category is geography, and Donnie's like, thank fucking God, I have to sit up here constantly and hear about all these bullshit categories that I have no interest in. And now you're finally asking a geography question, and then Jeff was like, what city in Iowa? What the fuck?
Well, that's the thing with Jeff. Like, he asks questions about things he knows about or loves.
Right.
And so, you know, half of each game is going to be sports, and then the other half are like food brands and music and movies. A lot of TV shows on ABC. He loves asking questions about ABC TV shows. And like in the past, I've asked him about that, like, oh, like mix in a science question, or like, you know, do a little like more world geography, world history. And I think it's just because he doesn't like know how to write those questions, where he's like, I know nothing about that. So when I write a question, I don't know if it's going to be insanely hard or insanely easy. But I'm sure he could always find someone else who can write those questions.
I don't want to throw Ken Jack under the bus, but also that's exactly what I want to do, because I did not want it to go down like it went down. In fact, I didn't even want you on the team or off the team or anything else. They being Jeff and Ken Jack had texted me a couple different times saying, is this something you're into? It was like Donnie, you know, leaving and Mincy might come in, or at one point like someone said Ebo would join our team or something, and I was just I told Jeff and Ken Jack, and this is no excuse, it's cowardly, but my attitude was consistently, Donnie, just like, I simply do not give a shit. I was like, I do not, like, I don't care. Like, why are you bothering me, texting me about like here's what we think. We think maybe we do this and we'll do it this way. And I was like, don't care. And part of the reason I didn't care is because I thought I cowardly had thought that you were like in on all of this. I thought that like you had approached Jeff and you were just like, listen, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, if you want to replace me, fine. So I just took the silence is violence, as they say, you know, and like I just took the path of silence, and I was just like, I just don't want any part of this. And then when I found out that like you weren't really gung ho about how it all went down, I was really sad, and I was like, I don't like how we did Donnie. I don't like how this is how it happened. So my apologies on behalf of Team Smockin. I don't know what happened. I don't know how it happened. I just like kept getting text messages or like, do you want to do? I was like, honestly, Jeff, I just kind of want to answer some dumbass trivia questions.
Yes,
that's all I really want to do with the dozen. I don't want to get involved with like the.
I think just when the season's not happening, Jeff like loves as much drama. As possible because I think it keeps the dozen on people's minds, and so he was just like, oh, if Jersey Jerry drops a Jerry bomb, this will get great.
Right.
This will get this will have the people talking.
And he forgets about the personal side of things, the real life impact, Jeff. That a man's getting married.
Yeah.
A man's getting married, and you fucking drop this bomb on him in Ireland.
But so, even though I'm not on Smocking this coming season, like I do think that team has so much potential that has not been reached. Like we always lose in the worst possible way ever.
Right.
That whole gap, because like I think the whole time I was with you guys, I maybe got like one sports question right, and that was because it was a Jimmer Fredette Shanghai Sharks question. And so. Yeah, I do think, I mean, if Mintz can help you guys with sports a bit more, you could be a powerhouse. And if you guys ever need a sub, I still would happily hop back on. Yeah.
Oh, that warms my heart because I hated how it went down, and I felt really bad, and it didn't sit well with me, but also I could have done something to stop it, and I didn't. So like a lot of long nights looking in the mirror, just saying, how could you do this to Donnie, Mark?
Were you worried like I was going to form a new team and call it like the Smockin' Killers? And just
I was. And honestly, I would have probably wanted to join your team.
Yeah.
I don't know, because you are. I told Ken Jack when he was like, we should. It's always hard because it's like we don't want to replace Donnie, but also like you said, like it was hard to get sports questions right, and in no world is men smarter than you, but. At the same time, like Jeff asked about SEC football, like Mintz is probably going to get those questions right in a way that you would just be like, I don't really fucking know. So like maybe the team is better, whatever. I don't know. But when Ken Jack would just like reach out to me and you know ask should we replace Donnie, I was like, I just don't want to be a part of this, but I could have stopped it. I guess I don't know. The whole thing was just like a mess, and
it's a very intense league, and I would say dozen fans are probably the craziest subsect of Barstool fans.
Yeah. Yes.
Like it goes maybe Minute fans and then dozen fans.
Yeah.
And those are the two. They are passionate.
They're fucking wild. Yeah. But I wanted you on the team because I was like, even if Donnie doesn't know a ton about the questions that, again, you have to phrase it that way. It's not that you don't know a lot. It's that you don't know a lot about Jeff Delo's brain. You're a vibes guy, and it was. I thought you were an important part of the team. So like, I want you. You can be a sub. Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Okay.
I don't want you to. Yeah, it just like broke my heart, and I was like, dude, Donnie, we need Donnie involved somehow. You being a vibes guy is very important, and I'm full transparency. I am nervous about the addition of Mintz because I don't know. He is going to be able to answer like college football questions, which is a big hole for us right now, but. He's also been
able to help with baseball too.
Help with baseball, but he's also been Mintz. So it's like
he might be calling in from some widespread panic concerts for sure.
Right.
Yes.
He's in the middle of a 10K. He's training for a 10K, and he's just like holding his phone up.
Mintz hit me up with an abroad idea. This was hilarious. He was like, "So like I don't know, I got something I want to run by you. Like, have you ever thought about doing a series in Mexico?" And I was like, well, I mean, I would like to go to Mexico City at some point. I've heard it's awesome. And he was like, well, Widespread Panic's doing a show in Mexico in April. Like, maybe I can come
We should
along.
come, maybe I
we
can
can film some content in Mexico and then go to the Widespread Panic concert. And I was
Just
like, all
follow
right.
Widespread Panic on tour.
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't know what we accomplished other than just we had a good chat. I know that much. But as far as like, what we land on? Serbia, Greece. We have to do Greece.
Yeah.
I think it'd be Greece, not Serbia. If you've done Serbia for water polo and soccer already, then maybe it's a Greece trip with a skosh of Serbia sprinkled in.
Yeah. So we got Greece up there, and then as alternatives, we got
Village China,
the Village Chinese League or Filipino college ball.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to hone in on it because I want to make that happen. Would be a ton of fun. The Wonton Don is his YouTube channel. Go check it out. I mean that seriously. I do pander when guests come on for sure, but I don't pander to this extent, Donnie. I would never tell anyone else that you have my favorite content at Barstool. But you do, and I mean it. And it's everything you put out is worth watching, and it's educational, it's funny, it's everything in between. And I can't recommend everyone watching and listening. If you don't know of Donnie or have never followed Donnie's stuff, please change that today. He's the best, and I appreciate you making time, man.
Thank you. And maybe in the future we'll do an episode with Jimmer Fredette as a guest.
That would be sick, dude.
I'll reach out and see.
I
what
would
he
love
says.
that.
Yeah.
Jimmer's because he's a Shanghai Sharks legend. And,
Shanghai Sharks legend.
He's a college basketball legend. So.
And apparently he's a 3v3 legend now, which is going to be an Olympic sport this summer. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, let's get Jimmer on, and we'll talk to him. Cool.
But thanks, Donnie.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you to Donnie. I hope we can make it happen. I hope we can make a Greece trip happen. I do the Chinese village thing looked interesting. I gotta go home and look that up a little more and read into that. But the problem with Donnie, and this is a good problem, he's very agreeable, TJ. Donnie's a guy that like I feel like I could have said, let's go to Antarctica, and he'd be like, yeah, let's do it. I'm down. Which is obviously a great trait. It makes for a great person. But me being an overthinker, I'm coming away from this. I'm like, does Donnie actually want to go to Greece, or does he just like say yes to whatever?
Yeah, he's just down for the cause.
He's just down for whatever. Donnie's down for whatever. He's the man. All right, before we go, quick shout out. I guess this is the shout out. This is it. We're wrapping the show up. Winning Time was canceled. Winning Time season 2 was the end of the road for Winning Time. I think a lot of people in my position would say that they had it coming. A lot of people might say you made your bed. This is how it works. You had greatness right in front of you, and you turned me down. I'm not going to do those things. I'm very sad because I did watch the show. I enjoyed it. It was more of a polarizing show than I realized. There's a lot of people, like, it got canceled. A lot of people I've seen come out and be like, yeah, that show sucked. That's why it got canceled, which I didn't realize people thought it sucked that much. It is kind of a niche topic, the Showtime Lakers, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great show. And it wasn't the most historically accurate show, but I enjoyed watching it every week, and the fact that it's done is a little bit of a bummer. And what's funny enough, TJ, is like, you can check me. You can do an ego check if this is too much. If they would have cast me, because I think part of the reason it got canceled, not even part of, I think the biggest reason it got canceled, if you're someone like me who believes it was a good show, now if you think the show sucked and you're like, well, the reason it got canceled is because it sucked. I think the reason it got canceled is because the writer's strike is going on, and nobody could promote this show. Nobody that was involved with this show could promote this show because of the writer's strike. And I saw the news that it got canceled, and I thought to myself, if only there was a guy involved with the show who could have organically promoted it somewhere. Interesting. Now, the question then is, do I have enough weight with this show and the various things I do at Barstool to have made that much of a difference to save Winning Time? And in the words of Kanye West at the Grammys, I guess we'll never know. That's all. I guess we'll never know. So, you can say, listen, Titus, if they would have casted you, it still would have gotten canceled. But you can't prove that. And I can prove that these are just the facts. They did not cast me as Kurt Rambis. The immediate season that someone else played Kurt Rambis was, in fact, that show's last, and it got canceled. So those are facts. How much they relate to each other can be disputed. but those are the facts, and that's where we find ourselves. And I'm going to be sad because Winning Time, funny enough, TJ, the final episode of Winning Time, the Los Angeles Lakers lose the NBA Finals. The show's called Winning Time.
That's a tough series finale.
And the series finale, they in fact do not win, which is probably a lot funnier if you're a Celtics fan than if you're a Lakers fan, but I find it pretty funny nonetheless.
Did people not like the show? I feel like I saw like unanimous, maybe not for the finale, but unanimous praise for it.
I think
from sports fans.
The main criticisms were it was not even kind of historically accurate. Well, that's not true. It was kind of, but they just took like a lot of liberties of like, let's throw in a 5-game losing streak here.
That sucks.
You know what I mean? And like the big pivotal moment when Magic did XYZ actually happened against the Rockets, but they had it happen on the road against the, and I think that annoyed a lot of people because they're like, what's the point of doing any of that? Like, you could have just not done that. Like, why did you have them play the Sonics that game when you just as easily could have had them play the right team and you chose the wrong team? Like, what was the point of that?
That pisses me off in like boxing and like fighting movies. Like, there was a Miles Teller movie called Bleed for This. And it's a story about a real guy, but at one point he has 2 world championship fights like 5 weeks away from each other. I'm like, that's just not how that's not ever worked at any point. Like, you have to train for a fight. But
I understand Hollywood taking liberties, but the own goals, so to speak, where you're just like, no one told you had to do it. Like, you could have just simply not done this. This was very avoidable. I think there's a lot of that in terms of historical accuracy with Winning Time. And then Adam McKay kind of, he rubs some people the wrong way. He's just he can be a little pretentious with his filmmaking. So, like maybe that's not the right word, but he sometimes will do some shit where you're watching it and you're like, damn, I can see the smirk on Adam McKay's face as he was choosing this decision, this artistic choice that he made here in this moment, Right. So I think there's the combination of that, but I don't know. I thought it was a good show, and I'm sad it's gone, even though I do find it interesting. I find the timing of it all interesting. That's all I'll say. Any shout outs before we go?
Just wanted to say shout out to anybody out there that roots for an undefeated college football team.
I do.
I do also.
Yeah. Feels great.
Feels so good.
Rutgers, you guys host Michigan, or you at?
No, we're at Michigan.
No Harbaugh though, right?
Harbaugh's back.
Oh, Harbaugh is back. That's right. There was the original suspension. There was going to be no Harbaugh, but now
and they,
isn't that a sign that he's scared of Rutgers?
We've beaten Michigan in 2 out of 4 halves the last 2 seasons. Not a lot of people talking about that.
That is your Big Ten stat of the day right there.
Beat him in the second half in 2021, beat him in the first half in 2022. We did lose last year by 30, but we did beat them in the first half.
There you go. Well, J.J. McCarthy threw 3 picks against Bowling Green.
So
they're looking a little susceptible. I just found out I'm going to the Ohio State Notre Dame game, which I'm pretty fired up about. But I'm not a good Buckeye fan in the sense that I wouldn't be good on the stream anyway. Like, part of me was like, should I be here for the stream? I wouldn't be good on the stream because when things go wrong for Ohio State, I turtle. I don't start throwing shit and punch drywall. I do the opposite, where I just pull out my phone and try to shrink into a tiny little ball so no one, and pretend like I'm not watching and I don't say a word. And I'm nervous because I'm going to Ohio State Notre Dame with a bunch of Notre Dame people, and I just Ohio State's favored. The team I like a lot more now after Saturday. The quarterback is still not as good as what we've had in the past, but I don't think he has to be because we're fucking loaded at every other position. But at some point, Notre Dame is going to beat Ohio State. We beat them every time we play them, and it just feels like the stars are aligning for them a little bit. And now I'm just nervous that I'm going to be inside the stadium with a bunch of Notre Dame people, and I'm going to want to turtle, but I can't. So that's why sometimes I enjoy watching it from home, is because I can just turn it off and turtle in the privacy of my own home.
Especially being in their stadium.
Right.
If you're going to be wearing all red, you're going to be a target for people to point and laugh if it's not going your way.
Right.
If it is going your way, you get to be the big bad asshole in the room. But if you guys lose, you're going to need a police escort out of there.
Right. And I'm not one who's wired. If we win, I'm not one that's wired to tell everyone to suck my dick in the immediate vicinity, So the scenarios I'm playing out in my head, like the pain, all I see is pain.
Yeah.
All I see is the pain. Like even us beating Notre Dame, it would be cool. I've never been to Notre Dame Stadium. It would be a huge win for the Buckeyes, but I think as I played out every scenario, I've Doctor Stranged it. That's a reference people get, right?
Yep.
The million timelines. I see far more like this is gonna not be a fun experience, and I'm gonna have to like drive back home at 1 a.m. back to Chicago from South Bend. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm going, and I'm sacking up, and I'll take it on the chin if we do lose. But yeah, I'm fire. I am excited to see Notre Dame Stadium. I've never been there before, so that'll be fun. But all right, thank you to Donnie. Thank you to everyone watching, listening. I'll plug it again. Go watch Donnie's. I recommend the Mt Everest series. That was incredible. Also the PFT video when they went to the rugby match in Hong Kong was one of my favorites. And I think that was kind of my introduction to Donnie's content. I think that might have been the first thing I watched, and I was like, this guy is fucking awesome. So go watch anything. Just go type in the Wonton Don and watch any of his stuff because he's incredible at what he does. And I'm very thankful that he came on the show today. So that's it. We'll see you guys on Thursday.